"Are you home?" asks Epstein. "Just leaving number 10. We'll call," replies Lord Mandelson.
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're looking at the biggest revelations so far about politician Peter Mandelson and his ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
But what did you think all the young women on the island or on the planes were there for? What did you think they were doing?
Celebrating Epstein's release.
But you have to recognise, Laura, that there are many countries and bad actors in this world who do not obey the rules.
In 2009, Mandelson was one of many people who had something to say about Jeffrey Epstein's release from prison. He'd been in there for over a year, but conditions were notoriously lax, with Epstein allowed to come and go as he pleased through his unlocked cell door. He was also, crucially, still able to access computers, hence why we have so many emails from around this time.
Well, it was a most terrible mistake on my part.
In some of the files, Peter Mandelson dubbed Epstein's looming release from prison Liberation Day, attempting to make plans to celebrate his freedom. Epstein's response was to joke about hiring strippers, which Mandelson reciprocated, though he's denied that this was his intention.
I believed the story he told in 2008 in his first indictment in Florida. I accepted his story, and I wish I hadn't.
The birthday book.
It was one thing to be friends with him in the early 2000s, quite another to keep your friendship going with him when it was clear and he had a conviction for abusing young women.
Privately compiled in 2003 by Ghislaine Maxwell, to celebrate Epstein's 50th birthday, the 3-volume birthday book has been a constant source of public interest. And would you believe that Peter Mandelson was one of the people who wrote Epstein a message of goodwill? In his, Mandelson describes Epstein as his best pal.
You described him, though, as your best pal. We've all seen the pictures of you relaxing with him on holiday in a bathrobe.
These messages came to light in September 2025 and led to Mandelson's resignation as Britain's ambassador to the US. The same message also gushed over Epstein, describing him as intelligent and sharp-witted. Mandelson at the time said he regretted his association with Epstein, although clearly not enough to end it after the first allegations became public in 2006.
I was at the edge of this man's life.
You described him as your best pal.
Yeah. And they were awful, toe-curling messages and emails.
$75,000.
Bank statements from 2003, which appear to show $75,000 of payments to an account of which Peter Mandelson, then an MP, was a beneficiary.
If you were given $75,000 in a bank transfer, do you think you'd remember where it came from? Apparently not if your name is Peter Mandelson. In fairness, he was given it in 3 installments of $25,000 each. Never mind that it's an entire annual salary for quite a lot of Brits.
Allegations which I believe to be false that he made financial payments to me 20 years ago, and of which I have no record or recollection, need investigating by me.
Though the transfers were documented and the bank accounts are connected to Mandelson, Mandelson says he has absolutely no recollection of receiving any money and that it will require some investigation. Epstein also bizarrely gave 10 grand to Mandelson's partner so that he could go on an osteopathy course, and there are emails thanking Epstein.
Peter Mandelson resigned from the Labour Party on Sunday and last night said he had no recollection of receiving payments from Epstein.
Dodgy vetting. One of the biggest questions in this political scandal has been whether or not Labour's senior politicians knew about Mandelson's Epstein connection.
Did he know that Mandelson had continued his friendship with Epstein after the conviction? He says if he knew then what he knows now, but he did know.
The answer to that is yes, as Keir Starmer admitted under questioning from Kemi Badenoch in the first PMQs of February 2026.
Prime Minister.
Yes, it did. As a result, various questions were put to him.
Starmer says that Labour's vetting process did uncover that Mandelson was friends with Epstein, but that Mandelson repeatedly lied about the extent of this when questioned. The government is, however, going to release many of its own files about Mandelson's political career in the interest of transparency, while Mandelson has now resigned from the party and from the House of Lords.
The government insists it wasn't aware of just how close Lord Mandelson was to Jeffrey Epstein,
lobbying the US government.
To learn that there was a cabinet minister leaking sensitive information at the height of the response to the 2008 crash is beyond infuriating.
In early 2010, while Mandelson was still Secretary of State for Business, he was busy lobbying the US government on Jeffrey Epstein's behalf. He was also trying to help Jez Staley, a banker who was at the time working at JP Morgan. As emails show, Mandelson promised to talk to high-ranking US politician Larry Summers to try and get him to water down incoming restrictions on banks following the 2008 financial crash.
I think the principle is accepted. I think the funding is embraced, but I haven't seen the financial plans.
This doesn't seem to have worked because the reforms Mandelson was helping lobby against were eventually approved in 2013, after Mandelson had finally left Downing Street. Epstein even instructed Mandelson on the specific arguments he was meant to employ to try and block the reforms.
And if we don't do that, if we don't demonstrate our relevance, then we can't expect to be taken seriously. We can't expect to be listened to and to influence what the United States is doing.
Bailing out the euro. Also in 2010, Mandelson gave Epstein advance notice of a €500 billion bailout to rescue the currency during the Eurozone crisis.
An email from 2010 appears to give Jeffrey Epstein advance notice of a £500 billion EU bailout of the euro.
This bailout was given by EU member states to other member states whose interest rates were skyrocketing, primarily Greece, but Portugal and Cyprus also benefited. The bailout deal wasn't public knowledge and had only just been agreed by the EU, of which the UK was still a part, though didn't contribute to the fund.
I never saw anything in his life, when I was with him, when I was in his homes, that would give me any reason to suspect what this evil monster was doing.
It's this allegation that has led the Metropolitan Police to announce that it's reviewing evidence to determine whether Mandelson committed misconduct in public office by leaking this information to Epstein. If he's charged, it would be a landmark moment for British politics.
Do you think I'd have written emails like that if I had had any one iota of knowledge or suspicion of what he was doing? I certainly would not.
The penthouse.
Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister's man in America, not just stepping down from that role, but from the Labour Party itself, with which he is so deeply associated.
Also in the September 2025 release of documents is evidence that, in 2009, Mandelson stayed at Epstein's apartment in Manhattan while Epstein himself was in prison. Mandelson's excuse for continuing his association with Epstein all the way into the 2010s after his conviction is that he simply believed that Epstein was innocent of the crimes he was accused of, even when he eventually pleaded guilty apparently.
In January 2024, a journalist from the Financial Times informed the Prime Minister that Mandelson had stayed in Epstein's house even after that conviction.
Not only did he stay in the apartment, but he also allegedly flew on Epstein's now infamous private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express. Epstein also paid thousands for transatlantic flights for Mandelson to go between North America and the UK.
The extent to which time and time again Mandelson completely misrepresented the extent of his relationship with Epstein and lied throughout the process, including in response to the due diligence.
Those pictures.
Lord Mandelson is semi-undressed. The woman he's speaking to, unknown.
There have been a lot of, shall we say, inconvenient pictures released in the Epstein files, particularly if your name is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor or indeed Peter Mandelson. One bizarre picture shows Mandelson chatting to an unidentified woman while he's in his underwear and she's in only a dressing gown.
The latest release of Epstein files uncovered photos of Mr. Mandelson with no trousers on, with an anonymous woman.
Mandelson has said that there is no proof that he was with Epstein in that photograph, nor is there any indication of when or where it was taken, and predictably, he has no recollection of it. Other pictures show Mandelson with Epstein in 2004, before the allegations were made against him publicly in St. Bart's, looking quite chummy.
Peter Mandelson has always insisted he knew nothing of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
Gordon Brown.
With Mandelson as the so-called third musketeer, the trio papered over the tensions and worked together on the new Labour vision.
The former PM's name turned up quite a few times in the Epstein files because he was being discussed in the emails, including by Mandelson. During the New Labour years, Mandelson was, infamously, the third most powerful man in the country after Blair and Brown, and according to his emails to Epstein, he forced Gordon Brown out.
Gordon Brown's government was on the ropes, so, plot twist, it was a peerage for Peter and back to the cabinet, this time as business secretary and motivator-in-chief.
He said, quote, finally got him to go today, on the day Brown stepped down, ahead of his resignation as Labour Party leader becoming public. Apparently, all of this was orchestrated so that Labour could eventually go into coalition with Nick Clegg and the Lib Dems, which of course didn't end up happening.
The crux of this is not the friendship I had 25 years ago with Jeffrey Epstein.
Lying to Labour.
None of us knew the depth and the darkness of that relationship.
There are murmurings that this scandal could be the end for Keir Starmer, especially considering that, despite Mandelson's friendship with Epstein being public knowledge, he was still appointed to the prestigious role of US ambassador and elevated to the House of Lords.
Such deceit is incompatible with public service.
Labour grandees have been doing their best to try and distance themselves from the whole thing, trying to say that Mandelson was simply that good of a liar and he pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. Wes Streeting, who campaigned with Mandelson in his youth, has also appeared to try and deal with some of the fallouts while also insisting that we can't say everybody is guilty by association.
Mandelson betrayed our country, our parliament, and my party.
Let us know in the comments whether you think this spells the end for Keir Starmer and New Labour.